am your host, Richard Martin, along with my amazing co-host,
Cheri Martin, and we are the WCN Interactive team here on the So Social Radio Show. Welcome you to join us today as we share with you some fun stuff about how to be an influential individual and stand out on social media. And what we love to do is help you
to dream it, plan it, build it, and most importantly, successfully do it.
And that's it for that growth, prosperity, and success. And as you know, each Wednesday at 12 noon, we're here on talknetworkradio.com. And we love to share tips and techniques to help you grow you and your business, plus demystify social media and marketing for you so you can have more fun.
And my favorite, more profits.
And of course, we invite you to definitely connect with us on Facebook, one of my most favorite communication tools here. Just click on facebook.com and go to So Social Radio Show. Make sure you give us a like. Let us know if there's any specific topics you'd like to hear us have a conversation on, and we'll definitely get that going here for you because we are all about education and want to bring you what you want to learn. We also want to make sure you're aware we have that top pin post right on So Social Radio Show. If you have any questions for us today, just go ahead and place those questions in the comments thread there underneath that top pin post, and we'll get to those questions. As I said, we're going to really focus on the importance of standing out in a crowded marketplace and why you want to be recognized as an influencer if you really want to grow your business online.
Absolutely so. And let's get on to our sponsors.
Oh, definitely. Okay.
I want to start with Toastmasters, a world leader in communications and leadership development. Find out how you can improve your speaking and leadership skills. Visit toastmastersd84.org and learn to grow your business to the next level.
Also, Constant Contact, an award-winning company empowering small businesses and nonprofits to grow and succeed through email marketing. With their one toolkit, one login, you can be a marketer. You can actually get a 60-day free trial account at bit.ly/WCN-FREE-CTCT. That's bit.ly/WCNFR. EECTCT, and you can actually get started growing your marketing list, which will help you grow your business.
Very well help you grow your business. And everythingbrevard.com, a Brevard County, Florida community website. Keep up to date with everything that's happening in Brevard and get your business listing on everythingbrevard.com.
And if you would like to learn how to be one of our guest spotlight speakers, we would love to showcase you here on the So Social Radio Show. If you have a specific expert within the business or marketing arena, we'd love to have a conversation with you. So definitely reach out to me, Cheri, at CLM@WCNinteractive.com, or just go to SoSocialRadioshow.com and you can contact me through there as well. Again, we're so excited to be here on the So Social Radio Show. You're going to have Richard and I today just going to have a fun conversation about, again, one of our favorite topics, and that is how to push past the fear of communicating and being a thought leader and putting yourself out there for everyone to see.
There's the fear right then and there.
Definitely. But I want to make sure, first of all, that everyone is aware that we're going, we've mentioned this on our So Social Radio Show in the past couple months. The Talk Network Radio actually launched a new online magazine called Connect 10 that was launched in January of this year, and our April issue will be released on this coming Monday, April 3rd, and you can definitely, I highly recommend that you go take a look at this online magazine. It's phenomenal articles in there and on a variety of different topics, but with you can go to talknetworkradio.com, and then on the navigation there, just click on Connect 10. But I'm really excited about our article because it's about being obsessed with social media. And Richard always accuses me of that. So it was a very easy article to write.
You're absolutely true about that on both of those counts.
I'm not really addicted. It's just that
yes, you are.
It's what I love to do. However, with the topic again that we're going to be talking about today, about being, an influencer and standing out and being bold enough and have the courage to do so, it does take that courage. And I mean, I can contest to that. Richard knows me. I have always been one, believe it or not, that's kind of been wanting to be in the background. And it was hard for me to really be confident enough to put out my postings, let alone for myself and then when I started doing it for others too, it was like, what do they think about that? I would sit there and wonder, I wonder if that resonated with them, or was it offensive, or did they like it, or did they not like it? Especially when you're sitting there waiting for somebody to click like, or somebody to comment, or somebody to share, and nothing's happening, and you're like, okay, they didn't like it. But that's not always the case.
Absolutely not. Why did you have that fear?
Well, it was, again, the lack of confidence in myself, not feeling, I hate to say that word, not worthy, because I know I am worthy and have value. But
the thing is that you're talking about, there is so many people have that fear that they don't allow their natural courageous self to come through and express thoughts. Mm-hmm. Everybody's got the thoughts. One of the probably the biggest work type fears is public speaking. I mean, you got to get up there in front of the public, and it's not only your words, it's how you carry yourself, the charisma that comes through in the speech, the charisma that comes through in the body language, and all of that. So, it is a very fearful event when you first get started on it, unless you're a little bit weird like me, and I just don't care.
Well, it does come easier to some folks more than for others.
Yes.
But before we get started and really dive into this, because we're going to, Richard and I, we just back and forth here, but I really let our audience know exactly what an influencer is when we're talking about an influencer.
Okay. An influencer in its most simple form is a person that will boldly make a statement, present their opinion in front of a public audience. And again, that could be in a speech or a talk, but more likely today it's on one of the social channels, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, along those lines. And a lot of people shy away from that because they're thinking people are judging them. Hey, you got to be bad before you can get good. You got to be good before you can become great. It's all an educational process, and everyone that has achieved something significant in their life has had to walk through those 3 steps. And when you sit there and you just think about it, it can be a daunting task. But, once you try it a few times, oh, okay, well, I understand how to get into it. Then you learn how to get into the body of your message, and before long, you're figuring out how to close and upsell at the end of the message. But it is a process, and it is fearful to get started.
Well, so it really begins with having that courage to express your thoughts and not be concerned so much about what others think about your thoughts, because I know we put a lot of, myself, I've put certain individuals on pedestals that I follow, whether it be online, before online, in books I read. We all look up to certain people, and it could be a personal family member, it could be a celebrity. And then we begin to think, well, gosh, what they say is so full of wisdom. It's so awesome. How could I even match being in their level? And we get, that's where I think the fear comes. We're afraid that people will compare us, maybe.
Well, people are going to make judgments on everything you say and do and act and driving your car, on that. So people are going to make judgments. But that doesn't make their judgment any better or any worse than what your opinion of how you did is. You know, if somebody's new to getting on the radio, go back almost 2 years when we first started on the radio, and what were your emotions walking in that day?
Oh my gosh. And and I will be honest, even now I have this excitement about our radio show, but I still am nervous because I really want to provide value to all our listeners. And when we have a special guest spotlight speaker here, I really want to make sure we're showcasing them so that they are really helping them to provide the value to our listening audience as well. There's always that fear, I think, that doesn't really go away. Now I use it to motivate me and to really get me pumped a little bit. It's not a fear that I'm going to mess up, because I'm not really worried about that, because this just happens a lot of times.
It's just a conversation.
Exactly. We just have a conversation
and
here.
whether that's on the radio, whether you're at a networking event, whether you're out to dinner, it's just a conversation. And it's no more difficult to look at than that.
It reminds me of a client from a few years ago. She came to us and wanted us to really help her learn how to compose her message on social media. And she was really fearful of putting her thoughts out there. Very concerned about what her family would think, what her business associates would think, what others in, the business arena would think. And we worked with her and really helped her to understand her value. And for our audience, this client of ours actually wrote music. She was a composer.
Yes.
And she wrote beautiful lyrics and beautiful music.
Awesome. Music.
And she took her skills and put them in like musical on CDs and in cards that you could actually send these cards to people. It's just a really very unique gift. So what we basically had her do was sit down and just start composing her posts as if she was composing music. And it was the way she could feel confident enough to really get the message out there. And it was just a really neat experiment that we had with her, because when she started getting comfortable with providing her skills and knowledge and being true to herself and not trying to be something for someone else, it came more natural.
No, and she, by the time we were done, she was just awesome at being able to do the writing and the posting and all these other things that are out there, because she thought of it as lyrics, and she just was a natural at lyrics.
Well, so I guess that's what really, there's no real definition of what makes an influencer influential, except if they're confident in themselves. Or what would you say?
Well, I mean, that's the first part. Nobody's gonna listen to you if you don't have confidence in yourself. Mm-hmm. You've got to have the ability and the courage to go through and make a statement. And it doesn't matter whether somebody likes the statement or they just totally dislike it and they don't want to do it. When you make a statement, the whole purpose of making a statement is to challenge somebody's position of where they stand right here, right now. Because one thing that happens is where we're at today in our comfort zone, it's going to not be the same next week. It has moved because we're not the same person we were last week. Mm-hmm. We've either grown or we've diminished, but we're not the same. And it's very, very important that, in the world of being influential, that you stay fresh. The only way to stay fresh is to keep pushing forward, to keep driving what's happening, because that's what makes your message strong. You get these people that are on the speaking circuit where they're giving free speeches and then selling from the back of their room. They're giving their message, and the message is to entice you with enough information that you see that they are a very credible, very dominant individual, and that you're willing to get out of your chair at the end of the talk and go back and plunk up how much ever money it is so you can buy their CD, buy their manual, get coaching time with them, whatever it is. And it's really important that in the whole process that you have confidence in you. Because nobody is youer than you.
A Dr. Seuss quote.
Dr. Seuss. Love Dr. Seuss.
And yes, I read a lot of Dr. Seuss books. I love Dr. Seuss, and I'm always, when I find one of his quotes out of his books, I write them down. And when we were preparing for our show today, I came, why Dr. Seuss says, why fit in when you're born to stand out?
Ooh, really like that.
So why fit in when you're born to stand out? And isn't that what we're all wanting to do when we're marketing on social media, is to stand out so people pay attention to us and people take notice? But there's a certain way to do it. You don't want to just put out, buy me, buy me, buy me. You want to really provide valuable information so that people look at you as one, credible, knowledgeable, and yes, that's how you become influential, because they can trust what the message is that you're putting out there. And I believe blogs probably was the first social, the first interactive communications tool that was out there for those thought leaders, that they started blogging, and that was many years ago, before all these social networks really took hold.
Before websites really became websites back in '98 when we started, it was all hand coded, and blogs were before that. On putting all that out there, yeah.
And then and as more people understood the value of a blog, they started creating blogs, and they started putting it's just an online diary. That's how a blog started, was just their thoughts. Yes. And it reminds me of the movie that we saw, gosh, how many years ago? Julia, and she just wanted to start blogging, and as she tried every recipe in Julia Child's cookbook, and then she created an audience that started following her, and she put her bloopers down, she put her emotions in it and everything, and it just was her thoughts as she put that out there.
And the world reacted to what she put down there, and they loved it. And she sold, I don't know how many books, but an awful lot of them on that.
A movie was made from it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, enough to get a movie made, so that's a lot too.
So I guess the question is being an influencer the one key to your success on social media? Is that something you really have to get past, that sphere of and being more confident in just putting your information out there and trusting in yourself?
Well, it is. The short answer is yes. The detailed answer is, when you start out, you're not going to be the influencer, but you are going to have influence on a few folks. So you may start out, and the first person that you get to like you, follow you, whatever, when in your messaging and on your blog, that's the seed. Now you have to water the seed, so the seed will bring other seeds in.
So that's how you start building an audience then, is by being basically breaking through that barrier of the fear that you might have. You have to break through that in order to start building an audience to start following you, by putting information out there. And I've seen that as I followed so many people through the years and over the years, where they began and where they are now. And they just started writing for their audience, who their ideal client customer was.
Well, can I use you as an example? I mean, right now,
I'm afraid to say yes.
Well, tough. I mean that with love. On that, right now you're the social media queen. I mean, you're up there with the top 10 or 15 in the nation. Okay.
Well,
but I remember when you got started, you were afraid. What are people going to think? Am I good enough? You went through all the fear factors that were there, but you got the first one out the door. And then you got the next one. And social media wasn't back in '98 in that area, but blogs were, and websites were, and those things. And you put it all together. And that's what everybody that succeeds has to go through. We're all born totally dependent on our mother.
That's getting deep.
Well, isn't it? Isn't it the truth?
Yeah.
So when you birth, male or female now, when you birth an opinion, when you birth putting something in writing, or you put a video out there, or you put an MP3 out there, when you start looking at that and you birth it, you're hanging on every little like, every little comment, everything that hangs on. And you're trying to figure out, how do I adjust? How do I change what I'm writing so I can ultimately someday have tens of thousands of people that are following me? And when you put your message out there, you move from there. Why do so many influential people put out books? And you're a published author. Okay, why do so many people put out books?
To get our message out there.
Yes, but now you have a whole book to focus on your message. So you can start from the beginning and fully express it to its logical conclusion. Mm-hmm. So, you do that, and that sounds really simple. I know I hear people saying, yeah, but Richard, on doing that. But that's the beginning, and that's where you got to start.
I was just going to ask, is there a secret tip, or is there, you I think you just hit the nail on the head, though. You just have to start somewhere. And if you're, it's having the confidence in yourself that you have value to share. And when you start sharing that value, and you understand first off who you want this message to resonate with, again, understanding who you want to attract, that will help you to compose more freely, as well as getting that information out there. And then more people will see it, read it. And even when people don't comment on it or click a like or share it, don't be misled. They're still watching.
Totally true. And we get hung up on that, especially in Facebook and LinkedIn and all those, where you're looking for likes and followers and all these other things that are happening. But if you go back on the analytics side of the site, tell me what you can see there.
Well, you can see your reach. You can see how far that one message, maybe you didn't have a lot of engagement on it, but, even one share, it's amazing what
that's the gold standard.
One share can provide for you, as far as how many people have seen this come through their news feed. So there's a lot of information on the analytic on the back end of your social sites that you need to be taking a look at, and understanding in more detail exactly how far of a reach you're getting with your information. But I would recommend, I know a few weeks ago, or maybe it was a month or so ago, we talked about the different features or components there on Facebook, with the profile, your page, and a group. And I would say groups on Facebook, groups on LinkedIn is a great place to start getting comfortable with sharing your thoughts by just entering into conversations and commenting on threads of conversation. That's how you start getting confident and more freely get your thoughts out there, and then that will then lead to you wanting to put out and maybe starting a conversation thread. Because I think that's where a lot of the fear factor is starting something and being afraid that, again, fears are, am I going to offend someone? Are they going to think this is stupid? Did I say it right? All these little things that creep up in our mind that really we don't need to focus on. We need to focus on our message.
Totally. I mean, that's when you're talking about posting, blogging, and all those things, it's all about your message. And getting the clarity on your message is a process on that. How many times did we fall down on our keister every time we tried to take a step as a baby? We learned to play sports, whether baseball, football, soccer, it doesn't matter, as kids. Okay. How many times did you try to kick that soccer ball and actually miss the whole ball?
Exactly.
But that's what you do in the beginning. And, that's perfect, because that's where you want to be, because that allows you to grow. That challenges you to be better, be stronger. And the same thing in social media, same thing in blogging. You build an audience. You hang around and you look what influential people were doing on putting that whole process together. It's a very simple process, but it's nerve-wracking.
Mm-hmm. Is there an actual difference, though, about between being an influencer and being influential?
Absolutely so.
Awesome.
Being an influencer is you're writing, you're doing your blogs, you're doing your videos, you're doing your Facebook Lives, and what happens in the middle of that, you are influencing people. And they're going to come back and watch your next one, listen to your next one. All these things happen throughout that whole process. But as that process goes on, and you're still doing it 3 months from now, you're still doing it 6 months from now, you're doing it a year from now. All of a sudden, there's something that morphs in the middle of all this. You start out as that caterpillar. I love the butterfly example. Mm-hmm. You start out as a caterpillar. But when you come out of the cocoon, you're that magnificent, fully colored, rich butterfly on putting it together. And it's a metaphor for the process that we all go through. You got to be bad before you get good.
Winston Churchill, I think, says success is going from failure to failure without losing your enthusiasm. So you have to continue.
Very well said, yeah.
And we can contest to that as well. We understand
100 times, yeah.
Because it is true. You may put a blog out there and you may not have a lot of comments, or maybe not a lot of people are seeing it. And then you put out another one and you're like, blown away with how many people actually resonated with, and they start adding comments and such on it. But I do know that you have to never stop. You have to continue and stay enthusiastic what you're doing, and knowing that you're passionate and you believe in the message that you want to share. And I really feel that that's where I took that turn in what I do. I know you mentioned it in the beginning. I was just like, first of all, and I run into this every time I'm training someone, is what do I say? How do I know what to say? And that's where you have to have that clarity in who you are, what your why is, who your client is, who you want to attract. There's so many other little pieces.
Think of it as a jigsaw puzzle.
Yeah.
They all fit together. You just have to work to figure them out sometime.
I know it. It's like we actually, a couple weeks ago, we did had a half-day seminar, a small group seminar with individuals working on their social media strategy. And it wasn't just sit down and, okay, write out what you want to accomplish. We started with those pieces.
Yes.
Why do you do what you do? What motivates you? You have to understand all those little pieces, because they're so integral in making sure you have clarity in your message. And that will help you with determining how you can actually map out a strategy to accomplish what you want to have as your end goal. And you've got a workshop coming up here in the Brevard County area. It is a live workshop. It's not a webinar, but it is on branding.
Branding
so
you.
When is that, and why is that? Why would that be a good workshop to really get involved in, to understand how to become more of an influencer?
There are 1,000 and thousands of influences that pass us by every day. There's thousands of messages that come across every day. So the whole premise of what I'm doing is, how do you stand out in this crowded world? And there's a graphic that I really love that's on the internet. It's people all standing up at attention, feet down, head up, all looking great. And then there's one person that's standing on their head. Just think about that. Picture that for a moment. From a business standpoint, which one of those do you want to be? You want to be the people all standing in a military row in a line, all wearing their gray or black suit, white shirt, tie, and all this type of stuff, the IBM look? Or do you want to be the one standing on your head with everybody going, why are you doing that? So you'll ask the question, why am I doing that? Because that starts the conversation. That builds to that point where people want to know more, where people want to get to know you, where they'll actually engage with you on Facebook or LinkedIn or Twitter and start the conversation and keep things moving. And that's when you become an influencer. Mm-hmm. Okay, you're not there, but people are paying attention to you. They're curious about your message because they're beginning to find out something about it now that they understand you just a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Well, again, it's because you did something to gain attention.
Exactly.
And, it was the right type of attention. It was to do something a little different than what others are doing. And like you said, in that scenario, in that image there, you see everybody standing tall, straight in their suits. Mm-hmm. Then you see somebody else standing on their head or, upside down. And there's also another image that I'm sure many people have seen on the internet where they have all the little sweet little ballerinas at their little bar. And they're all doing their little plies. And then there's that one little girl at the very down. She's swinging on that bar from her knees. And who do you see first? Where's your attention going?
Who gets noticed?
Who gets the attention?
When we start talking about the brand you, how many other people are in your community where you live and work that do something very, very similar to what you do? We all have competitors. We all love competition because it gets us bigger, better, and stronger, on laying that out. But how do you get to be the one? Mm-hmm. That one that they're going to say yes to. I want to know more. I want to find out more. I'm willing to invest a conversation with you on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, phone, face-to-face, or whatever. It's the same thing when you go to a face-to-face networking event. How are you going to stand out?
As you say, how can you be rememberable?
Rememberable. Yes, we know that's not a word, but
being rememberable means stand out. How will people, when you follow up with them after they've met maybe 50 people, sometimes at some of these events? We were at one last evening where we had all these new members, and it was an after-hours event at one of our local chambers. And, how are you going to, when you do that follow-up calls with individuals you spoke with, did you do something? Did you set a trigger of somehow to stand out? Were you influential with them in maybe speaking on a topic that interested them, that maybe you were able to connect with? All those little things are so important in business today. So you have to understand how you can be an influencer.
How you can be remembered.
Memorable. So not only online, but in person.
Exactly. One of the tricks I'll use at a face-to-face networking, is I'll walk up to somebody, and I usually carry a little attaché or a little booklet or something like that I take notes on and drop business cards in. I'll walk up to somebody that I'm doing something with and I want to have another conversation with them, and I've got their business card or something like that. I'll just intentionally drop my little attaché, boom, made a little bit of noise. Now everybody looks around and go, Richard, what the heck are you doing? But what happens when I call them up a day or two later?
Well,
I'm the one that was clumsy and dropped my little attaché there on the floor. All of a sudden they remember me. I was that rememberable.
Mm-hmm. Well, most definitely. I mean, it's so important to figure out, and you don't want to be, and there's, bring attention, you don't want to be a class clown. I know when I was growing up, there was always that class clown that was definitely rememberable, and that was not always in the right way, or doing things like that. But in business today, especially online, how are you going to be thought of? And I hear this from a number of individuals we speak with. We've been involved in the online marketing arena since, 98?
98.
A lot of years, almost 20 years next year. Gosh, February of next year will be 20 years that we have actually been, researching and looking for ways to stand out in the online arena. And we've tried a lot of things that have not worked. We've tried a number of things that have been very successful. And then we we just do some things that we just have fun at, and wonder sometimes why are we doing it, but yet we don't realize how many people are actually watching or listening. And I found this out talking to someone just recently. They had commented that they were at one of our very, very first workshops. And we're talking back in, and this is on, not on online marketing, but on social media. So this would have been back in 2010, almost 7 years ago.
Yep.
And they remembered a whole series that we did. And they wanted to know if we were going to do something like that again. And at that time we were, I guess you could say, the influencers in our area on social media. Nobody else was doing it. We were the first ones that kind of rolled it out and started teaching it and getting involved. So really, we couldn't really make any mistakes because nobody knew if we were doing it right or not. But we realized the importance of it, and we realized that in order for us to be known as the experts or be credible, we had to really invest so much in ourselves to become more influential.
Well, how many times have we flown out to California and stayed there for days to be with coaches and stuff that are out there
over the years, yeah,
that are in the arena? I mean, we've invested thousands and thousands of dollars in laying that out. It's not about the money, but what it is, it's about the ability to bring value back to the people that we talk to.
And that's a very good point, because that was what was brought to my attention by this individual I was speaking with. They said, because how many times whatever your industry is, you hear people say, "Oh yeah, someone else, whether it's real estate or in marketing or web developers, whatever, there's another person that joined the chamber that does what you do." You hear that. And I finally stepped back one day. I says, "What do you mean they do what I do? Do you know what I do?"
"Oh, you do social media."
"That's not what I do." And so that's where you have to really realize, oh, obviously I'm not doing a very good job of helping them understand what it is that how I serve. So it really helped me kind of come back in and realize, or kind of search, what is it that I do? What is it? Who am I? How do I serve? What is the best way for me to help others and assist others? So, but what I found out from them is they said, there's so many people that have been in the community that have presented and done what you did, but they are not here anymore.
No.
And you and Richard still are. And you continue growing. And trust me, we're continuing learning as well. Like Richard said, we don't share all the education we've invested into to boast or to impress you, but to impress upon you how important it is to continue learning your trade so that you can be credible, you can be known as the person to go to, which then in turn has now made you the influential person in your industry or in your area. So those are all those little key ingredients that you have to just understand.
Being an influencer is one thing. Being influential is a totally different thing on that. Being an influencer, you can give talks and speeches and write books, and you can be an influencer. But to be influential is something that somebody has to bestow upon you. Okay?
That's that credibility.
We can't go out there and say, I'm the influential one in this or that or whatever. You might be the best at it, but being influential is bestowed on you by the people that you have met, talked to, presented to, charged fees to come to meetings with. That is the gold standard for all of us that are in the public eye.
And that's where you have to really understand that you have to find your voice or risk fading out and being no more. And there's a gentleman that I follow on social media, Bernard, I think it's Kelvin Klein. He's from Ghana, and he is a brand strategist. He's a master branding coach, and basically says, if you're not willing to risk finding your voice, you're not going to ever be an influencer, let alone be influential. and you're not going to be able to really grow your business.
Absolutely so. I mean, it's there. Sometimes you gotta walk up to the ledge, and you gotta jump.
Mm-hmm.
But when you jump, everything changes. You take that
the
leap.
Steve Harvey YouTube video. Go watch it.
Go watch the jump on that. But if you take that jump, if you take that leap of faith, that's when you will hit that next level. That's when you get there. You know, there's all too many influencers in our lives, and close friends, family members, people in business that like to give you advice on how you're better, how to get better, on all of that type of stuff. And you've got to listen to them, but then you have to go back through your process system of who you are, who you want to be, and where you're going, and saying, is that advice relevant or not? More times than we would like to think, it's not even relevant. Mm-hmm. It's not even good advice. It's just somebody that thought they knew something that was saying something on putting that together. But, going back to what you said about Steve Harvey, you got to take that leap of faith. You got to trust that if you're going to jump off that cliff, that parachute on your back is going to open when you pull the pin.
That's true.
And if you don't do that, you just elected to remain the same. And, my thing was, first half of my career, I worked for other people. The biggest problem I got into with other people was I was pushing them too hard. There was only one person that I didn't push too hard in my whole career.
Was that yourself?
No.
Oh. No.
That.
I know that for a fact. That wasn't true.
That was Jimmy Dean, the Jimmy Dean.
Oh, yeah. He was the guy that pushed you.
Because he was an entrepreneur. He started that thing. He started it from nothing.
Mm-hmm.
On putting it together. But he took that jump. And he understood when I resigned to start my own business, he didn't have a problem with it. He wished me good luck. He understood that I had to take that jump and just to see if my parachute would open. Mm-hmm. But 20 years later, 25 years later, I'm so happy I did.
It's so true. I mean, you have to be a risk taker these days in order to get ahead, and it does help you to gain that attention. And again, quoting back, as the gentleman I told you I follow on Facebook and throughout social media, Bernard Calvin, I think it's Kelvin, so it's not Calvin, like Kal, and last name Clive. And he actually says it's your difference that sets you apart, not your similarity. So that's where you have to understand that we all have competitors, but you have to have that uniqueness that people think of you when they think of that industry. They think of you first because of that uniqueness, and it could be anything from what your tagline is, how you introduce yourself in a 15-second introduction at a networking event, or do you take time to ask questions about the individuals you're meeting, or do you focus on talking about yourself?
There is a great tip.
That.
So what should I do?
Definitely ask questions and find out as much as you can about the other person, because they're going to remember you're the person that cared because you were interested in them.
Yeah. The only way you're going to get them interested in you is you got to take the initiative and go be interested in them. Mm-hmm.
Such a valuable lesson that so many of us learn sometimes a little bit too late in our adult life, that it isn't all about us. Oh, darn. Especially when you're baby boomers like us and we're the me generation. However, the millennials are right there now. They're kind of they're the mini us.
Yeah. And you gotta be willing to take the challenges that you're going to get, especially from close friends, probably family members, and those people that have the 9 to 5. They don't understand the entrepreneurs. They don't understand about taking that leap of faith and jumping out and doing things. I mean, even in the corporate world, are you willing to stand out so you can be considered for that promotion? Understand that the people that are around you are going to be looking at you. You're challenging them on putting it to people that's there. And that's all because people don't care until they know that you care. And even then, that's a hard push a lot of time.
You really hit a spot on me when you talked about family members. They just don't understand. A lot of times, those of us that are entrepreneurs, and they all have the 9 to 5 jobs, and I totally respect them. And that's, we all have our own journeys and our own paths in life. But I do know that they don't. They think that all I do basically is live on Facebook. And they don't understand that there's
that may not be the best example, Cheri.
No, there's a strategy though.
No, I understand it.
They don't understand that I have a strategy in the way that I post, whether it's in a group or on my personal profile or on one of my Facebook pages, and whether I'm doing it on Twitter. I love Twitter because I love to be able to follow influencers on Twitter to gain more knowledge. What's really fascinating is when all of a sudden people are following you and you realize that you're an influencer for them. And that's a very good feeling. But with family members.
All of a sudden you emerge from that cocoon and you're now that butterfly. And you have a whole different purpose in life now. And that's the neat thing that happens in the middle of that. And sometimes your best friends, your family, mentors, trusted advisors, all those things from your old life, all of a sudden you're not their friend anymore.
Well, and that's when you have to understand that your business is something that you have to really understand and explore exactly what your why is. And why you are an entrepreneur, why you are in sales, or why you are wanting to have that reach out there and use social media as that medium to help you gain more traction and get more attention. And that's what the branding workshop that you're going to be doing. And that is, for those of our listeners that are here local, it is here in the Brevard County area. All the information on the Brand You workshop is at WCNinteractive.com. Just click on the workshop nav on the top there on the page. It's Thursday, April 20th, half-day workshop, 8:30 to 12:30 that day, and it's in West Melbourne at the Buena Vita Estates. For those of you that have been to some of our workshops, you know exactly where we do them in their boardroom there up in the West Melbourne area. But there is an early bird special that you can grab. It does expire this Friday, March 31st. So definitely go check it out. If you have any questions, just contact Richard on that. And I do know from past experience and people that have been to this workshop, it's a phenomenal workshop to really understand how to brand yourself, not your company, but to brand you, and definitely get people to notice you and perceive you.
Because you have to stand out in order to win. And this is all about getting you to stand out as you and being the winner that you are.
Exactly. And again, this has been just kind of a fun conversation, talking on really understanding how to get past fears, how to be more bold in your communication on your social networks, and understanding how important it is to stand out and become known before you're needed. And, you know, as we know, people don't care what you know until they know that you care. So this is a great way to do that. So we want to thank everyone for coming to listen to us today on the So Social Radio Show. We'll be back here April already. April Fool's Day is Saturday. And so next quarter. Second quarter of 2017 is beginning in just a couple days. So everyone, have a great social week.